Hello, everybody. This is Leonard Rosen with the financial news with Leonard Rosen. Many people come to our program because they're looking for alternative type investments for their self-directed IRA or to deploy capital outside of their self-directed IRA. Today, we have Rick Rickard from Titan Capital Holdings. Rick, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure, Leonard.
Rick, tell me a little bit about, I understand there's a lot of buzz in the marketplace regarding the new fund that you just came out with.
Correct.
Give me an overview of what it actually is.
Sure, Leonard, the fund is basically a $50 million raise. It's an equity raise, and it's really positioned for people who are looking for income as well as security.
And how long has the fund been out?
It's relatively new. It's only been out about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Have you raised any capital yet?
We have. We are just over $1.2 million in actual raise and just under $2 million in commitments.
Oh, nice. That's pretty impressive, actually. So, you know, there's all kinds of different types of investors looking for different kinds of investments. So, who is this actually for?
Well, Leonard, this is a great addition to any portfolio, but it's really for accredited investors.
Which is?
Well, an accredited investor is basically an individual with $1 million net worth, not including their personal residence. And then there's a couple rules regarding income. A single individual with a $200,000 income and a married couple with $300,000 income.
Okay. So if somebody is earning $100,000 a year, they've got $50,000 in an IRA, this probably isn't the right type of investment for them.
They may not be considered an accredited investor.
Okay, all right. So when an investor invests their capital with you, what kind of returns they get? They get 20% return, 30%, 2%? How does that work?
Basically, the return is based on a target rate of 10% interest.
Okay, so tell me about the model. How do you actually deliver, because 10% is fairly high in today's market when we take a look at mutual funds and CD rates and so forth. How do you achieve a 10% rate? Tell me about the model.
Well, it's quite simple, Leonard. Our model is based on, we are a hard money lender, so we deploy funds at 14, 16, and 18% plus fees. And so we have a target rate of 10%, which we're very easily able to deliver on a monthly basis to the investor.
So you charge your borrowers 12, 14, 16, 18%.
Correct.
You pay a target rate of the investors at 10. So that spread is how you earn money?
That is correct. We work off the difference.
Who gets paid first?
Well, always the investor gets paid first. It's a great question. The investor always gets paid first. We have a reserve, and then we get paid last.
Well, that's interesting. Now, you made a comment that you're a hard money lender.
Correct.
I think there's a lot of folks who are watching this broadcast that don't know what that means. So tell me what that actually means.
Well, absolutely, Leonard. The essence of hard money is their convenience loans. They're for investors, for real estate investors. This is not for owner-occupied homeowners. So it would make no sense for an individual living in their home to take an 18 or a 16% rate on a note. This is for investors who, say, buy something at public auction. Mm-hmm. It needs to be funded quickly. They're going to do a fix and flip on it. They're in and out of the deal in 4 months, 6 months, whatever the case might be. This is what these funds are set up for, and that's really where all of our experience has been in this space of convenience loans.
All right, so it's for the real estate investor.
Correct.
And where do you deploy capital? Where's your marketplace?
Well, we have 3 primary markets. Our steady market, because we're located in Arizona, has been the Phoenix area, which is very robust for this type of loan. The appetite is very high. We also do Clark County, Nevada, which of course is Las Vegas, and then we do Southern California. We have a location in LA.
Rick, we have John Hornick on the line right now, and I understand that Mr. Hornick is rather famous person. He's also the mayor of Marlborough Township, New Jersey.
He is.
And he's the attorney that actually represented you in the architecture.
He is very instrumental in this fund coming together for us.
Mr. Hornick, Mayor Hornick, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Leonard. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm wondering if you could tell our viewers, give me an overview on what the fund actually is.
Sure, Leonard. The fund Titan Capital Real Estate Fund 1 was created in order to allow investors an opportunity to invest in these high return private lending and real estate transactions. So it really operates as a vehicle of access for people to participate in these investment opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have the ability to get to.
And with a fund such as this that you developed for Titan, who is it for? What type of investor would be interested in this? And are there restrictions?
That's a good question, Leonard. This fund is really state of the art, and it was formed under new rule 506C, which was recently introduced in the 2012 Jobs Act. And because it went under Rule 506C, only what we call accredited investors can invest in the fund. Now, the definition of accredited investors includes natural people whose individual net worth or joint worth with the person's spouse exceeds $1 million. And that, of course, has to exclude the primary residence of such person. Or if the person or the individual has an individual income in excess of $200,000 in each of the 2 most recent years. Also, there's another exception for any director or executive officer of the manager of the company. So you need to fit within this definition of accredited investors in order to participate in Titan's fund.
I understand. So this is clearly not for everyone.
No, it is not. It is for the experienced investor who can meet the specific definition and be labeled an accredited investor under Rule 501 of Reg D of the 1933 Securities Act.
I see. And in the Titan Capital business model, they have a target yield of 10% to their investors. Now, from what Rick had told our viewers a few moments ago, is that they deploy capital in the marketplace at 14, 15, 16% plus points and fees. Is that a business model that you see in the industry? Is that the norm? Is that the acceptable business practice of a hard money lender in today's market?
I think the model that Titan has adjusted is something that's industry standard and acceptable right now in the private lending marketplace. The ability to get mid-teen returns depends also on the expertise of the people who are originating these type of investment opportunities. I think that the 10% return is a very strong return for investors, and I think the point/interest model is the right way to be generating income from these type of investments in 2013 and beyond.
So the model that is used, the business model behind the fund, is one where the investor gets paid first at a target rate of 10%, then Titan gets revenues above that. Is that somewhat how this works?
That is correct. What the Titan Fund is giving to its investors and paying them is net profits through what we call a waterfall. And the first area of the waterfall is for the members who are participating and investing. And they need a preferred return of 10% per annum on their capital investment. And then until that time, no one else is receiving any funding. Once they receive their 10% per annum of return, the second prom will be distributed to the manager. So it's a really good model because investors will need to be paid back first before the manager earns his money.
Well, good. I appreciate the information, Mayor Hornick, and thank you very much for taking your time out to share with us some insight into the fund.
My pleasure. Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you. You've been doing this a while, so give me history on the company.
Sure. You know, it really goes back to 2009 is the inception of our hard money company, Titan, as being a lender. For 15 years, I've been a real estate investor, and I've created a company that allows people to buy at auction because I can't buy everything at auction. So then came this space of, well, you might as well open up the opportunity to the market. And so while we've done that, what we realized in 2009, because hard money really became tight, and our clients had a difficult time getting hard money for the purchase they were making. And because they couldn't get hard money, that was having an adverse effect on our other business. So I reached out to investors that I knew, created a fund, a private fund at that point, to fund then our clients through our sister company. So that, kind of a long story short, is the inception of why we did it. It was really out of necessity. And then from there we said, well, the demand started increasing and increasing. Mm-hmm. So this fund that we're talking about today is actually our fourth fund. So it's not our first one. Since 2009, this becomes the fourth fund.
And tell me about the management of the company. Who's involved with Titan?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the management is made up of two primary individuals, myself being one of them. And again, I have 15 years experience in the real estate investing arena. Mm-hmm. And I'm also joined by Adam Child, who's the president of Titan Capital Holdings. And he joined us right at the end of 2010, beginning of 2011. Adam comes from the commercial side of lending, and he's got 24 plus years experience as a lender. So the combined experience of his lending, my real estate investing, really makes a great partnership in managing this company.
Well, and that is impressive. I must say, Rick. I mean, you've done an amazing job building your company. But investors, what they really want to know is, what about the security? So I invest with you. How do I know that this money's safe?
Right, and Leonard, that's the underlying question that any investor is going to have in terms of putting money with us or anybody else. What's the security for the investment? And the security for the investment is quite simple. If the money is not in our bank account, it is secured by a first position deed of trust on real estate. And it's real estate in areas that we're licensed: Arizona, Nevada, California, areas that we actually can properly deploy money.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm being educated as well as our viewers are. So you may have 10 investors who use either their self-directed IRA or outside of their IRA, and they put it in the Titan Capital Fund. You then take that money, pool together, and then what, the investors, they own the note? How does that work?
This is an equity raise, so the investors actually have membership in the fund, and the membership is protected for them by way of the operating agreement. So our PPM is broken down into three sections. Of course, the offering, the operating agreement, and then the subscription, which is the tool to actually step up and get moving forward with the investment. But the key for any investor is really the operating agreement. They want to see what's in the operating agreement, understand what their position is as a member, and including their voting rights.
So the investors are the ones who take title to the property?
No, Titan Capital Holdings has beneficial interest to the property. Mm-hmm. And so by way of membership through the fund itself, Titan Capital Real Estate Fund 1, which they are members of, they are granted through Titan Capital Holdings, which is the licensed lender.
Got it.
That is the protection. So all the beneficial interests do come right back to the members of the fund.
So you have investors who go to the courthouse steps, for example.
Yes.
And they buy real estate.
Correct.
How is that real estate underwritten? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Right. That's a great question. What it comes down to in terms of the underwriting, first is to determine the value. So we want to determine the value of what that property is worth, irrespective of what they're buying for. We want to know what it's worth, and then, of course, we have to, what we call the fire sale price. So if we ended up taking that property back, regardless of what the market says it's worth, in order for us to dispose of it in 30 days or less, we then want to know the value and then kind of the fire sale price, so we can actually liquidate a property if we need to. Then it really comes down to taking a look at the asset itself. What's the condition of the asset, the location of the asset, and then putting together a loan for them from an underwriting standpoint in terms of making sure there's enough down payment from the borrower to protect our interest in the event of their non-performance of the note or a change in the market.
So walk me through this so I can understand the fundamentals and how this functions. So there's properties that are up for foreclosure,
Yes.
and you have access to the knowledge of those properties before it actually happens.
Yes.
Your investors are interested in property A, for example, and they come to you before the foreclosure process.
Correct.
And then tell me, you do the underwrite. Tell me how that works.
Well, you bet. What happens is we'll get a call the day before. So, for instance, there's auctions coming up tomorrow, and we'll get a call today from the borrowers saying, the first question is, one, do you have funds available? And then number two is, this is the property I'm looking at. How much would you lend on it? So we're able to give a little bit of a snapshot to go, well, we see the value. So there's a quick conversation. We see the value is this. We're looking at probably this, which is not a commitment at that point. It's just a gauge for them to go, okay, that makes sense. We'll run our numbers while you guys are doing your due diligence. We don't commit to anything until the asset is actually purchased by that individual, and then a true commitment is requested on our part.
So who buys the property at auction?
It depends. The individual investor, the borrower, would put their initial deposit down, and in Arizona, for instance, they have to put $10,000 down, and they have 24 hours to pull their financing together. And it really comes back to the function of a hard money lender in that part of the industry is to be able to come up with a loan, to come up with funds in a 24-hour period or less.
So you underwrite the asset.
Correct.
In that period of time, and then you'll go in and then you'll finish the transaction.
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me, Rick, in terms of somebody investing with you folks, who's it for?
Absolutely. So when it comes down to people putting money into the fund as an investment, it's really for individuals who are, one, looking for a solid, above-average return paid monthly that can be viewed as income. So, because we run into all kinds of people who come to our fund and go, well, you know what, we got people on the spectrum of saying, that's not high enough. I want 20 or 30% return on my money per year. And of course, that doesn't work for us because we pay 10. And then you've got people on the other end of that spectrum who say, hey, that's too good to be true. Mutual funds and CDs are paying so little.
Sure.
How can you pay the 10%? So, but then there's an educated group of accredited investors kind of in the middle who go, you know what, I get that fund, I get the return, the targeted return. I could use that as income, or I could roll that back in and let that build. So it's really for that knowledgeable, accredited investor who says, you know what, I want to add that to my portfolio. Not necessarily that I want to put all my money in there, because of course, with the higher returns that some people are looking for,
sure,
the 20 and 30% comes a much higher risk. And then, of course, the CDs and the mutual funds where somebody may want to stay liquid, there's a balance there too. This is a great blend to add to any portfolio where somebody wants to get a very solid return, plus the security that goes along with it, which we discussed.
So would you say that if one were to rate this would be a conservative investment?
It is a conservative investment. It's a conservative and a safe investment, but as from a market standpoint, most conservative investments don't pay anywhere near 10%. And fortunately, we have a business model that allows us to lend money out at a rate such that we can pay the investor first at 10% and still leave something less for us to properly manage the fund.
Tell me who this is not for. Not every investment model is for everybody.
Correct.
So tell our viewers who this is not for.
Well, it really comes down to this. This investment is not for individuals who own a home. So it's not for somebody who wants to take a second and pay off some credit cards or something along those lines. It really comes down to this is an investment-based transaction. So it's somebody who wants to buy a property and do a fix and flip. It's somebody who wants to buy a property and take it long term, but use our money for a short period of time. Because let's say you're going to buy a fourplex. This is for an individual who says, I'm going to buy that fourplex. I'm going to use your convenience money to secure my deal and not lose the deal. But then in a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and take up through a conventional loan because I'm going to hold it long term. So that's when they're going to go to a conventional lender and get a lower interest rate and then take us out of the equation.
And Rick, we have AJ Poulin on the line. I understand you purchase your software through the mortgage office.
That is correct.
Okay. AJ, are you with us?
I am with you. Thanks for having me here today.
Well, thank you for joining us. From what I understand and what Rick tells me, your software is certainly for his application as a private money lender is state of the art. Tell me.
That would be an understatement, but yes.
Oh, an understatement. Tell me, what percentage of the hard money lenders, private money lenders in the country use your software? How long have you been around? And tell me a little bit about what it actually does from an investor standpoint. So I'm an investor, and I want to know exactly how my portfolio is doing and so forth. Tell me who's using your software, what percent. Just give me an idea of what this is, so our viewers can be familiar with this.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so just talking about percentages, a couple of years ago, Fidelity Information Services did a survey of the hard money lenders in the United States, and we were looking to do an interface with them, and they wanted to see what size market share we had. They came back to us after their research and told us that 85% of the hard money lenders that they knew of used our product, which is phenomenal. We didn't even know. We knew it was high. We didn't even know it was that high. But based on their number of 85%, it may even be higher now. One of the reasons why that's the case is in part two reasons. One is that our company was founded back in 1978, and it wasn't founded for banking software, and it wasn't founded for auto loans. It wasn't founded for any of that stuff. It was founded based on the premise of privately funded loans. And our software has always been geared towards that and built around that. And for the past 35 years, that's all we've done is made software for private lenders. The reason why it's geared towards private lenders is that based on the deals that private lenders do, the fact that they may run a mortgage pool, they may have fractionalized loans. Sometimes borrowers don't always pay on time and they need a little nudge. And so our software is specifically geared towards managing these loans and managing and taking care of these investors that have invested in either these pools or in loans directly. One of the reasons why investors like our software is that our customers have the ability for their investors to go online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, check out the performance of their fund, check out their investments, and see how the portfolio is doing as a whole. They can even actually print their own statements online as well. And we recently just added, speaking of state of the art, an iPad app. So for investors that own loans, they can actually go online with their iPad and pick up their entire portfolio as well.
So the investors that invest with Titan Capital, they go to a website that Titan Capital gives them. Tell me how that functions. I'm an investor. Investor. I invested $100,000 with Titan Capital. I want to review how my portfolio is doing. Walk me through that.
Yeah, fair enough. So what your investors of Titan are going to do is they're going to start on Titan's homepage, which is going to be bookmarked, obviously, for all the investors. And on Titan's homepage, there's going to be a button that says, if you're one of our investors in our fund, click here. Let's say there's multiple funds. And let's say investor A has invested in 3 of the funds or whatever it happens to be. They click a button, it redirects them to our secure servers. They log in with their ID and their password, and then boom, right on the screen, they can actually look at their investments in each of the actual funds, the return of the actual funds, payments that have been made, distributions that have been done this year, and then go back all the past 12 months.
And you said something they can actually print out their statement?
Right. Yeah, it's basically what the banks allow their customers to do. We were actually doing that before the banks allowed for that. We've had publishing for 15 years now. And this was even before people were going on Gap.com to buy blue jeans. We offered this. And so it's one of the things where, investors like to know what's going on. Investors like to know how the fund's performing, how their investments are doing at this point. And they like to know that stuff, and they like to be able to look at that at their leisure. They travel a lot. They're on boats. They're golfing. They're at the cabin. So they love that access. And one of the reasons why our customers do so well, number one is they make great loans. First and foremost, great underwriting, great loans. Second of all, they like the returns they're getting on these loans. And so because of this, our customers grow because investors often
often, if they're making a great return on their investments, they'll tell their other friends what kind of returns they're getting, and those conversations turn into referrals, and those referrals turn into capital in the fund. That capital turns into loans. As long as the loans are good, great underwriting standards, then you're growing the portfolio, and everybody wins.
So I know that Rick and Adam Child were very excited about getting your software, and I want to thank you for sharing a few moments with us and our viewers. And I want to thank you so much for that.
Well, it's my pleasure. You guys have any more questions, you just let me know.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, have a great day.
So we're getting down to last few moments, and what I'd like to know from you is, so give me an overview to our viewers who possibly would be interested in investing with Titan. Give me an overview. What would the takeaway be for an investor who viewed our broadcast today?
Well, in my opinion, Leonard, it comes down to this. So the takeaway that anybody should have is if you have any money sitting on the sideline that is not earning 10%, or you have any assets that are underperforming, it's really important to get that placed where you start making that money on the next monthly cycle. So anybody who's putting money in today is getting a check in 30 days. And that's really the important thing to understand. Not every investment, some investments you put money in and you have to wait 6 months before you get your first distribution. That's not our system. The system is, because our funds go out every day, we're deploying money, which allows us to take in money and get it deployed and pay the return on the next month. So really the takeaway comes down to this. If you have money sitting and not earning 10%, or if you have assets that are underperforming, well under the 10% or even losing money, you really want to take a serious look at this, get a copy of the PPM, and see if it's not a right investment for you.
And I just want to get clear on one question. Now, on the monthly distributions, can the investor take that as income? Can they reinvest? How does that work?
That's a great question. What it comes down to is there's two different ways to do it. Most investors take it as income, so they'll take the distribution monthly. But for those who say, you know what, I don't need that as income, I want to compound that, I want to roll that in, and so that over time my interest is actually earning interest, which is a really smart way to do it as well. For those that can do that, that don't need the direct income, absolutely, the fund was set up, the people who were the architects behind the fund did a great job in opening that up for us. So not only can you take it as income, but you can choose to defer the income and let it compound, which I think is a great way for a lot of investors to really accelerate their earnings.
And if an investor wanted to get in contact with you, how could they do that?
Sure, the simplest way is to go to our website, which is titancapitalholdings.com, or you could call us at our direct number, 480-889-5558.
Well, thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate you being our guest today. And we want to thank you for being with Financial News with Leonard Rosen. Make all your investments great ones. See you next time, folks.